Ole Miss at South Carolina. 9.5-point favorite is Lane Kiffin and company. Going to Willie B. Not an easy place to play. 3:30 Eastern, ABC. If you're Ole Miss, man, we just talked about you a second ago. You got to hit the reset here, brother. Got to hit the reset. It's easy to take a punch in the gut and say, oh, man, what are we doing? Got to lick our wounds. Do that if you want to, but you can't do that for too much longer because you got to go to a hostile environment against a South Carolina team off a bye, mind you, and they think they should be undefeated. And if you watch that LSU game, when South Carolina welcomed them for College Game Day, if Lenora Sellers stays healthy, I think South Carolina does beat LSU. They were dicing them up. The quarterback run game gave them problems. I think Lenora Sellers went no rec specs, threw on the contacts for the first time, and it was just like, it was like he just saw clearly for the first time. Not that he wasn't good before, but like contacts Lenora Sellers is another beast. Trying to get that mojo back. Everyone was talking about, well, hey, is Shane Beamer on the hot seat? Is he really the right guy at South Carolina? They've turned that noise down pretty quickly with their start. Only lost one game, like I mentioned. They would, I think, turn that down even more, obviously, with a big win over Ole Miss. Now, this is going to be a grown man's game, baby. And that's why we love college football. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide on the line of scrimmage. And for both these teams now, they struggle taking care of the quarterback. South Carolina giving up a sack rate of 15%. That's the worst in America. I will say this. I think some of that is inflated by the quarterback run game that they roll with. So I don't know that they're actually that bad protecting the quarterback. But still, problems on the O-line a year ago. Problems are not unequivocally solved just yet when you talk about South Carolina up front. College football sickos, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Predictions like this one for a lot of the big-time matchups across the college football landscape. We appreciate you in advance for being subscribed. Also, the Hard Count brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Okay, got a play for you a little bit later in this segment for the Ole Miss South Carolina game. But when you use code HARDCOUNT, $5 in lineups gets you $50 in promo funds. All you got to do, pick 2 or more player projections. We play college football and only college football on this show. Pick them more or less on those projections. You're off to the races. Again, code HARDCOUnt, $5 in lineups. Even if we don't win, we plan on winning, but if we don't win, you still get your $50 in promo funds. Now back to the prediction. Now for Ole Miss, looking at that film, allowing 4 sacks against Kentucky, you're like, okay, we got to figure this out. We got to figure this out because South Carolina, what we just said about the offensive line, that D-line is just a weapon, right? Dylan Stewart, I know he's a young buck, sack rate of 10% right now with that Gamecock defense. If you're Ole Miss, the way that I think you combat this, got to have what I would call some fixins. All right, maybe not the main course. Maybe it's not exactly what you lean on offensively. You got to have something to get a defensive line off balance. I'm talking perimeter pass game. I'm talking the quick string. I'm talking the bubbles, the tunnels. I'm talking a little inside zone, little misdirection, little quarterback run game. You hear what I'm saying? Just kind of a trail mix offense, if you will. A little bit of everything. Just make it all go together, just enough to where you're not living in 3rd and 11 and you're like, oh boy. Hey, slide the protection of Dylan Stewart because if we don't, he will tee off and he will decapitate your quarterback. Not a vibe you want to have. Not to say Jackson Dart isn't a tough son of a gun, but you hear what I'm saying. It's not a way that you really want to live. Now, Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders, 2 huge pieces for South Carolina. Lenora Sellers, obviously, their do-it-all quarterback. Rocket Sanders, first team all downhill kind of running back. They're both listed as questionable right now. I'm hesitating what to say on that. I don't know exactly what to think of these injury reports just yet. We'll go forward with this. You need both those players at their best in this game. Because we talk about South Carolina offensively, they want to punch you in the face. They want to kick your teeth in. And some teams want to kick your teeth in so they can then throw it over your head, like LSU kind of operates that way. That's not South Carolina. They want to kick your teeth in to maybe open it up a little bit to have some stuff in an intermediate pass game, but they want to punch you in the face so they can then punch you in the face again, right? It's going to be Rocket Sanders. It's going to be designed quarterback run with Lenora Sellers. If for whatever reason they don't have Sellers to roll in this game, again, he's listed as questionable. Robbie Ashford is a similar threat running his legs, not the same lower your shoulder kind of guy with him at quarterback, but I think they have confidence in him. I don't think the game plan changes tremendously. But bottom line, to win this football game, you got to have both those dudes, all right? I feel like that goes without saying. Now, the start to this football game for Ole Miss may dictate everything because those of y'all that watched that game broadcast against LSU, Willie B has a chance to be pretty flammable. Like if Willie B is rocking and you got that thing going in the first quarter because Lenora Sellers ripped off a 75-yard touchdown run, or Dylan Stewart has a strip sack to start the game, and then your offense punches it in at 7-0 South Carolina, things have a chance now to start to snowball. Not a world you want to live in if you're Ole Miss, but if you're Ole Miss and you can start the game fast and you get up 10 points, like this South Carolina offense, as physical as it is, it's not built to chase. It's not a speedboat. It's more of a steamboat, if you will. So it's crucial now for Ole Miss to hit on a lot of those deep shots that they didn't hit on against Kentucky. And I mean, Trey Harris went for like $170 when it came to his receiving yards. That was ridiculous. But I do think that there was some plays left out there that could have changed the complexion of that game. And credit Kentucky for battling through the hands on a lot of those deep passes, but like, again, the football comes down to a handful of plays that you got to make, and in close games like this, I think that's going to be what it comes down to. Now, 9.5 to me feels a little bit generous. Who are we picking in the game? Is it harder to believe that South Carolina is able to face punch their way to victory against this Ole Miss defensive line, who has also got some folks listed as questionable? I think that's just going to be how Lane Kiffin operates with that injury report. Or is it harder to believe that the Ole Miss fireworks show offensively stays soggy against South Carolina? To me, like, if you're Jackson Dart, this is the season you came back for. This is one of those games where you got to have it, man. This is your team back against the wall, good defensive line, tough outing last week, got to bounce back. When you got to bounce back, who do you look to? Your leaders. Who's your leader of this football team? Your quarterback. And so for Jackson Dart on Prize Picks, I'll take him to have more than 25.5 rush yards. I think you'll see a decent dose of the design quarterback run game, and if not, you'll see a decent dose of him having to scramble out of trouble. That's a tricky one because if he gets sacked, again, those numbers would count against his rush yards. Even with that being said, I think they'll lean on him enough in the run game. I think he'll take more than 25.5 rush yards. Lenora Sellers, right now, his interception number is listed at a half interception. I'll take the more there. I think this Ole Miss defense will get their paws on the football, and it'll be a tip pass or an overthrow kind of situation where they're opportunistic and find a way to get interception. Not saying Lenora Sellers plays bad. I just think that you give me half interception, I'll take the more there. Put those together. Code HARDCOUNT, $5 in lineups. You play that lineup, $50 in promo funds. Don't have to play that lineup. You can fade us if you want to, but $5 in lineups using code HARDCOUNT, $50 in promo funds. So our pick in the game, I'm going to take Ole Miss to win the football game. Again, I think they bounce back. I think the offense forces South Carolina to play catch-up enough. No Hines. I think they force them to play catch-up enough. Final score, Ole Miss 27. I think South Carolina has 20. So I do not take Ole Miss to cover, but I do like them to win the football game, bounce back, reset, and Lane Kiffin sets himself up for a big one going to Death Valley next week against LSU.